Back in the late 1980s, I came up with a principle, and I had no idea it would be such a versatile and powerful principle with so many different applications. Back then, I didn't really have an official name for it. It was just called the pre-torn corner principle. Now, originally, I used the idea for a two-bill transposition, and it was actually published in one of my very early books with Richard Kaufman. This idea of secretly tearing a corner off and then acting like it was still there and then pretending to tear it off. This was, like I said, way back in the 80s is when I came up with this. And since then, then in the 90s, I performed other routines with this principle involving a torn corner of an envelope, a torn corner of a playing card, even a paper napkin. So I've created a whole bunch of cool things with this. And it's definitely credited with me. I know in the last 10 or 15 years, other magicians have sort of rediscovered it, even though it was, it was widely printed in popular books and on my DVDs that were sort of international bestsellers. I know still magicians regularly, we rediscover things. So no harm or no foul on anybody who has played around the pre-torn corner. But just to clarify, at least that the credit for the originality of it, the first sort of broad release of it, is definitely mine. And I wouldn't want to, and I'm only emphasizing that because I don't want to come across as, Sankey's out of fresh ideas, so he's repackaging other people's stuff. That's the main thing. I'm not trying to criticize anybody for that. I just want to make sure people understand where it started. Okay. Having said that, out of all the different illusions and tricks, both close-up and stand-up, that I've created with the pre-torn corner principle, this Traveler is by far and away my favorite. There's so many things I like about this. I mean, postcards are the perfect size. I can do a trick with a postcard in front of 200 people on a stage, and as long as my gestures are broad and the visuals are there, with something this big, it plays beautifully. I can do Traveler for 2 or 3 people in a small situation. So I love the fact that something so thin and so light, and I can just put my briefcase on my way to the show, put these in there, and I'm good to go. So I love postcards for that. Applying the pre-torn corner works really well for this, and I want you to know these are not that the designs, I deliberately had these designs created, okay? They are busy patterns, okay? They're busy. The colors are bold. I wanted the people to be able to see from a great distance. I wanted to be able to kind of see the bold colors and the secret principle, which is what you can use the secret principle with any of these designs, but I deliberately had Tokyo designed to be particularly busy, okay? It's particularly dark colors and busy, so that it really makes the most of the principle and make sure that even very, very close, nobody sees the secret work before you want them to see it. So it's not like I just grabbed these postcards from some tourist attraction. They were all carefully designed with this principle in mind. So this is Traveler. On this video, I'm going to teach you how to prepare the gimmick. Super easy. Super easy. And the ease of this trick is going to shock you. Because so many tricks, you require some sleights, a bit of this, a bit of that. But to do at least the classic version of this trick that I do all the time, it's virtually self-working. There are no sleights, okay? So, if you're brand new in magic, you're going to really like this. I'm also going to tell you, we're going to look at different ways to force one of the specially prepared postcard. Also, the shocking vanish. One of the great things, there's a bunch of different cool things about the secret pre-torn corner principle. They set you up in a number of ways, and one of the things I love so much about it is the vanish. The vanish of the corner looks crazy good. It's shocking. You can really milk it. You can really frame it as an absolute impossibility, and it'll carry that. It is that strong. So all this and more, including the really cool kicker ending that I know you're going to like. I'm going to jump right in right now, and let's learn everything that we need to know about the very cool trick that is Traveler. To prepare the very cool postcard, all you're going to need is a postcard and a glue stick. All right? Postcard and a glue stick. Now, I say that because with a bit of practice, that's all you're going to need. But this first couple of times you make it, you may want to have a packing knife, sort of an X-Acto knife available on hand, okay? But you won't need this soon, okay? Because here's what you're going to do. It's all about getting a little comfortable. It's so much easier than a double lift or a classic coin pass or any of this stuff. Here's what you have. Okay. Grab one of the postcards. And like I said, I tend to use the Tokyo one, okay? And up at the corner here, what you're going to do is take your thumbnail or your fingernail. Let's go with a thumbnail here. And then we'll start with my fingernail. I'm going to try put my fingernail right and peel back the layers. Okay? Like this. I'm going to come show you this right now. I'm going to give you a nice close-up here. Now, for years, like I said, I've done this secret preparation with a few different kinds of things over the years, this pre-torn corn and all that stuff. But the postcards are the easiest. They really work so beautifully, all right? And along with the instructional video and this first batch of postcards, you're also going to get the PDF for the full color, so you can print off as many of these postcards as you want at your local printer, at whatever. Even the most humble small printer will be able to print these for you, all right? And they tend to use the cardstocks. You just ask literally for a standard cardstock, which usually is only made up of 2 or maybe 3 plies. So it's very easy, okay? And then what I've done is I've separated them. And now you're going to very carefully, with your 2 thumbs here, with thumb and finger on one corner, thumb and finger on the other. And then the key is these middle fingers. You want to apply equal pressure here, but you're not just pressing down, you're also sort of, the pressure you're applying is not just directly, but you're also kind of making sure the postcard stays stretched between, along the surface. You'll try this once or twice and you'll know exactly what I mean. Okay, but I'm here. Now, like I said, if you want to be absolutely careful, is what you can do is you pull it, then drag the knife gently, please, gently across, and it just means that any little fibers that might be still connecting one ply to the other are cleaning. And now I press and I pull, and you want an even pressure here. Even pressure. You're not pulling more on one side or the other, okay? And again, take this knife. And I've printed these many times, and when I travel, a few times I've just had the PDFs. And so I've found they don't always print the exact same. Different printers don't always print off the exact same way. So you'll find sometimes they'll use slightly different cardstock. So sometimes you'll find that the cardstock is a bit, let's call it stickier or more fibers, and other times you'll find it's a lot cleaner. They separate really easily, okay? Now I'm going to pull up here like this, like that, and pull down here like this. And what you're looking to do really varies. Frankly, I pull until it starts to be a bit too grippy, because what you don't want to do is tear it, okay? So I'm here, and I'm pulling this like this, and I'm going to do down like that, and I'm going to stop there. I think that's a decent size. So look what I've done. So how big is that? I don't know. I mean, when you unfold it, it's pretty much like a square inch there, okay? But I've pulled back the corner. Now you'll find sometimes you'll be pulling the fiber off the back, other times off the front. It really does not matter, okay? Then you go down to this corner here, and you're going to tear off a piece. Let's say, not too big. It really has to be, you have to know, because this piece, you're going to bury this piece inside here. And you want to make sure there's just enough edge for glue, so you'll see. Let's take off about, I don't know, let's do this, okay, like that. It's also nice if you can have it slightly distinctive, okay? Rather than just a perfect tear on a 45-degree angle. It's nice to give it a bit of a personality of a tear so people can see at a glance that the corner really does match, okay? Now, I take this piece, and it doesn't matter which way I put it in, but I'm going to put it in like this for now. I'm going to show you exactly how I've laid this in here, like, let's say we do that. Okay, so there it is. This is exactly where it is. Notice I've kept the border around the edges so I can apply that glue, okay? Glue's going to go. Now, I'm going to take my glue, I'm going to lay this down, okay? And I'm going to lay it down on a piece of paper that I can throw away, because it's very important. You want the glue to get to the very edge. So I'm going to take the glue stick and put it down on the edges, and make sure it goes right to the edge, so it's going to overlap. Some of the glue is going to end up on this surface, okay? So that's really important to keep that in mind. So that's there. I take my glue stick, okay? Nice to use a nice new clean one, okay? And now I'm going to apply glue. And you ultimately want to be applying glue along the edge, really cleanly to the corner on both, okay? But you do not want any glue on the piece. That's very important. No glue on the piece, okay? So I have just applied the glue. I'm going to show you once again. I just applied a nice clean line of glue, okay? Along here, to the corner and down, right to the very edges. Now, I take this, fold it again. I don't want to get glue on the front of this. Lay this down, and first thing to do is apply, and I'll show you this in a second. I'm going to apply, make sure, a very clean, like this, okay? Like this. Now, because what you want to do is work from the outside edges, okay? From the outside edges, here we go. Pressing down outside edges. And again, I'm being very detailed and careful. You're going to find that you can probably make one of these gimmicks with the glue and the folding down, the whole bit, in a minute, 60 seconds or less, okay? Like this, like that. What you don't want to do, I'll warn you right now here. There we go. What you don't want to do is start on the corner here, pressing it all firmly, and then start to flatten down the corner, flatten down the edges, because that's where you get a bubble. Okay, and this is not a big deal. I mean, no one's going to notice anything anyway, but if you're going to do it, may as well do it cleanly. So it's now done. The corner from here, okay, from one end, the corner, has been torn off and glued inside here. Now, typically, I take this, and when I travel too, I'll put this in the hotel room Bible or whatever. Please, I hope the trick works. Put it in there, or put it in a nice big book, okay? Some big cookbook or something you got at home. I'll often do, you're sitting down in front of the TV, I'll do 5 or 10 of these in a row, and I'm good for a couple of weeks of shows, right? Glue the corner down, and then you've got it, but it's very important that you give it time to dry, okay? I've made the mistake before, haven't given it time to dry, and then when it comes to tearing this open, it's a bit wilty. Sometimes you'll even have the fiber start to, and the glue can even get in your fingers all drag. So you want this to dry ideally overnight, but I think if you gave it an hour or two, you'd be fine. And that, my friends, that is the setup gimmick. Ready to go and ready to seriously blow people's minds. Yes, I changed my shirt. I figured it was high time. Okay, so here is our prepared gimmick. It's dry, and notice because of the busy pattern on it, even close up, if you're looking real carefully, okay, you still don't even see, and I frankly didn't even do quite as good a job as I sometimes do, but there's nothing to see, okay? There, the light's hitting it just enough so you can see a bit of a wrinkle, but, you're moving it. There's nothing to see. You can handle this, and it looks just like an ordinary postcard, and notice you can handle it, you can handle it here, and there's nothing to see. You can conceal the small. It's so simple. All right, now, how to perform the effect going into this. And first on this clip, I'm going to show you how you can, I'm going to show you not one, but 2 ways to force this postcard. Because I know a lot of magicians like the idea of people having an apparently free choice of any of these postcards to do this crazy trick with. But I will tell you right now, I hardly ever force the postcard. I've done it a few times in certain situations. But most of the time, this is exactly what I do. I make sure all the postcards are facing the right way. Okay, boom, 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 boom. And I have my Tokyo postcard at the back. And I say, I'll take these out. I'll say, let's try something. I said, I'm actually, I'm very lucky to be doing magic. I've been doing magic a long time. Thanks to magic, I've been able to travel all over the world. I've been to Berlin. I've been to Sydney. I've been to London. I've been to Paris. I've been to Madrid. I've even been to Tokyo. In fact, let's try something that I am sure you are going to remember for the rest of your life. And then I go into it. That's all I do. In handling these like this and showing them so fairly, not only does this look totally legit, totally unprepared, blah, blah, it's just a darn postcard. People don't even think of the idea of a gimmicked postcard. Not only that, but by one handling each of these so fairly, the fairness of these and showing them on all sides and all the corners, blah, blah, bleeds over. The fairness of that bleeds over onto this, and people would swear that you handled this the exact same way as those, and we're going to try something. There's no sense, you're not going to notice that when we force something, it's often around where we're going to have it picked and then found again, or prediction. In that case, it makes sense that you would really emphasize you had a free choice and look at my prediction. Or you could have chosen any card in the pack and now I'm going to find it. This is not a find trick, okay? This is not a prediction trick, so there's no need to force this. But if you want to force it, okay? First, because there's 6, you can use the 1 to 6 force, okay? And what that means is I'm going to put Tokyo. I'm going to put 2 postcards in front of Tokyo, okay? So Tokyo is in the 3rd position, and then put 3 behind Tokyo, all right? Now, you can, if you want, one by one, go through these, okay? And what I'm going to do from the front to the back is I can do them like this, basically. I can do this while talking about traveling, and as long as I'm careful to make sure they stay pretty stacked, as I come to Tokyo, I can move that forward, right? Then I can move the rest from this side, okay? So I can go through them all, boom, boom, and as long as I make sure when it comes time to move Tokyo forward, okay, I'm covered with my fingers on the right fingers, I'm good to go, okay? What matters is that Tokyo ends up in the third position, right, from the front. Now, I say, you're going to try something with one of the postcards, but I want you to decide which postcard we're going to do in the most random way you can. There are 6 postcards. Now, you're good at spelling, right? That might come in handy, okay? But go ahead, name a number between 1 and 6. So I make sure to mention, you're good at spelling, right? That might come in handy. I sort of dropped that real casual. I found years ago that with the 6 force, it really, by mentioning the spelling may come up if you end up having to spell to the force card, it really adds a lot. Rather than just randomly they say 4, and you say, let's spell to it, F-O-U-R. It's like, well, why are you spelling to it? I said a number. But if I drop the idea we might spell to it, then it really loosens up suspicions. Having said all that, if you're not familiar with the 6 force, let's remember, Tokyo is in front. So, name a number, so go ahead, name a number between 1 and 6. And let's say they say 3. Well, then it's easy. You go 1, 2, 3, we'll use Tokyo and put these away. That's very direct. If they say 4, then of course I count from the back. Going 1, 2, 3, using my right fingers, and 4, we're Tokyo again. So 3 and 4, easy, depending on where you're going to count from the front or from the back. The spelling comes in. Let's say you're a good speller, it might come in handy. Go ahead and name a number between 1 and 4, and they say 1. And you go, well, sure, that's easy. So what do we have here? We've got O, N, and E, Tokyo. So we forced it by spelling O-N-E. If they say 2, same thing, T-W-O to Tokyo. If they say 3, we count to 3. If they say 4, we count to 4 from the back. If they say 5, we're going to do the same thing from the back now. F-I-V-E, Tokyo, right? And of course, if they say 6, it's S-I-X, we count from the front. Be careful, don't say sex. I do that almost every time I use this force. It's now locked in my head. They'll say 6, I go S-E-X. It's a gag, but I don't even mean to do it, but it happens anyways. Anyway, so that's one way to force the Tokyo postcard if you want. Another way, real classic, and again, is in this case, let's say it can be, really doesn't matter where it is, as long as it's going to end up in my right hand. So sometimes I'll count through all of them, show them one by one. I've traveled the world, been to London, been to Paris, been here, making sure with my right fingers to cover the corner when I need it, right? And then I just say, look, I'm going to do something amazing with one of the postcards, and I divide them in half. I'm going to do something amazing with one of the postcards. You might even get a souvenir out if you're lucky. Okay, no guarantees here. But so I'll tell you what, why don't you choose one, and we're going to choose it in the most random way possible. We're going to do it by process of elimination. And I just say process of elimination. And I say, go ahead. We're going to use the postcards in my right hand or left hand. You tell me. Point to one is what I'd say. Process of elimination. Go ahead, point to the ones here, okay? You don't want to say, are we going to use? That's a mistake. So on the process elimination, go ahead, point to some postcards. If they point to these, you get rid of them. If they, boom, they're gone. If they point to these, you say, fine, we'll use these, okay? So if they point to these, you get rid of them. Because you did say process of elimination very quietly. You drop that in there. They point to these. And notice, this is equivoque. And if it doesn't, it makes perfect sense. If they point to this when you get rid of those, that suits what you said, because you said you're going to eliminate some. If they point to these and you get rid of these, well, that makes sense because you said you get rid of some, right? So either way, it feels right. Down to these 3. And then what I do is I lean towards someone and I say, I want you to take your first finger, both hands, and touch 2 of the postcards. So again, you're not saying these are the cards we're going to use or these are the cards we're going to eliminate. Touch 2. And if they touch these 2, you get rid of those, which perfectly mirrors what you did with the others, you're down to Tokyo. A perfectly fair choice of force of Tokyo. If, however, with their 2 fingers, one of them touches Tokyo and one of them touches one of these as you lean in, right? Then you get rid of this, in keeping, okay, down to these 2, and then say, finally, go ahead, point to one last one. So far, everything, no matter what their options are, where they point, it's all perfectly intuitive. It's all supported, okay? You haven't contrasted your actions with your words or anything. Only at the end here, when you say, okay, last choice, point to one. If they point to Tokyo, you say, great. That's the boom. Now notice you've kind of been eliminating everything that they've touched. So in this last choice, it's slightly around, okay, last big choice, go ahead. Okay, that's the one we'll use, and you move forward. It blows over fine. If, on the other hand, they point or they touch Berlin, then it's perfectly in keeping with everything else. And you say, great, we've eliminated all down to Tokyo, and you go from there. All right? So that's equivoque. So whether you're using the sixth force or the counting force, or whether you use this two groups and write down, they're both really strong forces. They're clean. And like I said, I hardly ever bother to force the postcard, but at least certainly when you're at your next magic meeting or showing this trick to some magician friends and you want to add another level of deception, both those forces work beautifully. For me, this is one of the most amazing and cleanest vanishes in all of magic. My sleeves are up. I've shown the postcards. We're down to this. Now, if I did this and you were right here, okay, I don't care how experienced a magician you are. If I hadn't already shown you this was a pre-torn postcard, that, in all likelihood, would have fooled you very badly. Now, so much about magic is about reconstructing, is about backtracking. When people are shocked, particularly if you don't move on to something else, then they're going to go back to the most recent images. And if I barehanded, okay, pretend, and the key to this false terror, incidentally, here is take your time with it, not too much time, okay? And then at the very end, don't just come away clean. And what I do is with my thumbnail, I actually kind of hold on to the very last bit and give a little pull. And that little pull really adds to the illusion that you have just torn a corner off. I mean, it looks so legitimate. So it's a fake tear, but at the same time, you're now holding nothing. So when you make this vanish, it's amazing. However, I was talking about backtracking. This is why, in this instance, when you have this beautiful moment, it's not a great idea. You're running some risk if you immediately show your hand empty. Because then where is it? And not that people are going to think, wait a second, maybe it was already gone. That's a very big jump for people to make. But you want a time lapse. When you plant a few beats between apparently tearing it off and making it vanish, if you plant some beats, the longer the time lapse, the more likely they're not going to be able to backtrack. You can particularly layer this by adding some other, a bit more of a visual story to the piece. So this is why you can vanish it barehanded. Okay, you can take tear this off, hand this to a spectator, often to hold between two hands, right? Or what I've sometimes done, if I want it to play up even bigger, is I'll tear this off, hand them the postcard, have them put it inside a large manila envelope, and prop up that manila envelope against a glass or something on my table on stage, so everybody can see the spectator. And when you hand this to a spectator, they never go, what, do I feel something in the corner? They never. You just hand it to them, they take it, they put it in an envelope, and everybody can see it in full view. But it's still concealed, because you want to suggest the idea that piece is going to reappear here. So you don't just want to prop it up where everyone can see the moment it's gone, there's no piece. You want to add some moments of mystery and wonder, so you put it in an envelope, prop it up against something, and everybody can see it, and you're still holding this at this point. However, so that's the stand-up or stage version. Close-up, I tear, and I have someone hold on between the two hands typically, or if it's only one or two people, someone can put their hand flat down at the bar or wherever you are. Okay, so you're there. Now, instead of just vanishing this, give it a bit more story. So, one thing you could do, of course, is you got your card case. Take this, open this up, and carefully put the piece down inside. Have someone hold on to that. So now you've got some nice balance. Someone's holding this, someone's holding this, and you can do this in a close-up show or even a bit of a stand-up show as well. Someone's holding that, someone's holding this. Your hands are absolutely empty. Snap your fingers, take your time. Time-lapse, drama, maybe a bit of comedy, whatever, and then they open inside, the piece is gone. Under freaking test conditions, they saw you put it in the case. Your hands, you emphasize, are absolutely empty. When they open it up and there's nothing inside, it's a gorgeous vanish. That itself, give that moment its due. It's magic. Okay? Then you come back over here, the person lifts their hands, and I'm going to come back to there in just a second. But so that's one way to vanish and add a bit of a narrative. Same thing, you could do it with a coin purse, right? You could take it, you've just torn it off, okay? What you want to avoid, though, is the purse should be already open, okay? You don't want this kind of moment in your show where you got this awkward hold, then you just slip it away. You want it to be real, already open, real clean, putting it inside, zipping it up for safekeeping, handing it to someone to hold on to, okay? And of course, they can't even feel if it's there or not. So that's another way. Two other ways, paper napkin, dollar bill. You could, people that care about money, this could be a 10, this could be 100, whatever, say, if this doesn't go well, if I can't figure it out, whatever the case may be, you'll bet this. Now, the problem with that is the piece, unless you do the full kicker, the piece doesn't end up on here, right? It impossibly ends inside the postcard. So be careful about the bet mentality, right? But here, like this, here, like this, take the piece, put it inside here, fold it up inside. So this acts as a way, I love this kind of stuff, because now you can't get to it, but it's locked in space and time. The piece isn't just anywhere, it's in there. They don't think it, they know it. They know the piece is inside there. Someone can hold on to that. Then when you've done your magic here, they can open it up, or you can open it up with a snap. Beautiful. Real drama. Piece is gone. Same with the paper napkin, right? Put it in the paper napkin. Fold that up. So these are all things you can use without fire. Now, there's no debating in my mind that fire always adds to a magic show. But if you're at school and fire is not appropriate, or if you're a very young person, or if you don't want to use a piece of flash paper at every show, and you're doing a whole bunch of shows during a week, get rid of this. Boom. There we go. A flash paper certainly works very nicely. But again, you got to be careful. It's nice to have stuff. You don't want to have convinced everybody you just tore off a piece and then have to go to your pockets and all this stuff. So what I do is I tear. Show my hand undeniably empty. I go to my left pants pocket and I take out a piece of tissue paper. I don't call it flash paper. Then you take this and you fold it inside here, not too small. Okay? Better to always be a bit too big in theater than a bit small. They're like this, okay? So they know where it is now. And when you do this, I might do this twice here. When you do this, when they see this moment here, like this, notice you could even have this tissue paper, give it to someone early in the show to hold on to. Give the lighter to someone early in the show, and then you have this nice theatrical loop, where at this point you go, did I give someone the tissue, who's got the tissue paper? Boom, and you take it with the left hand, fold it in, then the right. Okay, get people involved. Make the magic real. Okay, get them doing the best. Then when you do this, of course, you're here like this, and you take this like this, and boom, it's gone. I mean, so much magic. Forget about that. But even after the tear, as soon as you isolate, you'll even hear sometimes people go, they turn to each other, saying basically it's going to end up back in the corner. It's a total story. It's a classic theme. So you're there. So those are two ways to wonderfully vanish it. Now, or several ways to vanish it. Having vanished it, you're now set for the reveal. Now, I don't play up the comedy as if it's a gag here. I play up as if something went wrong with the show, which is a great thing. You don't want to have a whole show where everything's always going wrong because people don't believe it, unless it's a straight-up comedy show, okay? But if you want people to buy into it, I've made it vanish. And then I emphasize, again, time-lapse. My sleeves were up, okay? You've held that from the very beginning. You can see the piece is not here anywhere. But just amazingly, go ahead, lift your hands and show everybody the piece is returned. And I always say, lift your hands, show everybody the piece has returned. And they lift their hand, and they always look at me to see if I'm kidding, and I'm straight-faced. And then I look at them, they lift it up, and I always then look at the ground. First thing, I look at the ground. I grab their sleeve, look around. I'm not kidding, because this is like on stage, this is important. I take the postcard, and there really is this sense that nobody knows what's going on. Did he screw up? Is it part of the show? Their reaction, often I find people they don't laugh. There's this stop the show. And I don't make it last for 20 seconds. It's maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds, okay? Then I take it, and I do this, and I go like that, and I go, wait a second. Feel that, okay? And I hand it to them, and they feel that. And that's when their face starts to have this crazy expression. Feel that. Now, you could see. Look, there's no tears, there's no nothing, right? And they say, yeah, there's nothing. I say, but this happened once before. And I love that line. It may not suit you, but I do this a lot in my show. I mean, once in every. Also, this happened. I'll do it with Ambitious Card. I'll do it with Coins Across. Whenever it seems that things have gone off the rails, I say, this happened once before. Not never before, not always, because then why would I be surprised? But one time. The idea is that they then feel that they're in on something special. He's not just phoning in the show. It's not totally rote routine. Something happened. Okay? So boom, like this, and I go like this. And now make sure your hands are empty. So important. Because later on, you don't want anybody to think you slipped it in. Okay? Now, the reveal. So you're going to tear down. Now, you could tear this way or this way, but you definitely don't want to tear into the piece, right? You have to be very careful. You tear down. And you don't tear it completely off, because there's something about, notice, if you're going to do the kicker ending, if you tear this piece completely off, this little piece here, you're either going to have the piece missing or restore that and make sure it's not on the ground and all that stuff. So you tear down, but not completely off, okay? Like this. There we go. Now, you have to be very careful. First, you don't want the piece falling out. Second, it's absolutely important. A lot of magic is implied. You don't have to imply this. They see the piece is inside, and they're the witness. You got to be very careful. This is why I often open it, because if I hand it to them, you think, well, they can open it and find it. That's great for two people in a bar, because even if the piece falls out, the husband and wife, or the two friends, the three friends, they all saw it was inside for that beat. Larger situation, even a wedding table, it's better that you take it and show and you open it up, and you don't let it fall. People can see. People can see the piece. It's right there, okay? Then grab hold of it. Now, key to this last line. Please do not say, and look, the piece matches. Because matches sounds like, oh, you mean it's not another piece. It matches ipso facto, QED. The logic is it must be the same piece. So I don't say, look, it matches. I tear it out and say, look, it's the piece. And can you believe it? Inside, there it is, the piece I tore off. I just say the piece, not a matching piece. Boom, like that. And you have this shocking. Now, you do not have to do the kicker ending. I do not always do it. This in itself is just a mind-blowing miracle, okay? However, and it works fine. Don't feel obliged to do the kicker ending. You don't have to do it, okay? And it still works fine. You can go on to other tricks. You can close your show like this and leave the souvenir, whatever. However, there is a theatrical completeness. There is something to be said for fulfilling your promise ultimately. Things went off to the side in a very magical, surreal, and unforgettable way. That's fine. But if things go off to the side and then after that there's a, prologue? Epilogue. There's a little additional chapter where you actually restore them in the end. I think that's very cool too. But don't feel obliged. Like I said, you're at this position. And if you do want to go into the kicker ending, I'm going to show you exactly how that works right now. Sometimes I do a card trick. And in the card trick, I say to people, along with this playing card, okay, we're also going to use a paper clip, which I have right here. Now look, I'm going to take the clip and put it right on that, like that. That is Juan Tamarez's crossover switch. He was the first person who showed me how to do that. And I love this. And this works in live performance. It's just an amazing way to switch one small item for another small item. All right? So cool and so natural. It's about doing something that's motivated and something that flows, and doing it in a way that you don't overprove. It's almost like you're performing and you're saying, I got a folded card, I'm going to use a clip. And you go to your pocket, and for just a second, your focus drifts off the presenting of things because the clip's not in that pocket. It's actually over in this pocket, turns out. Okay? And we've all done that with car keys and with coins and with our phones, with all these things where we think something's here, but actually it's over here and we have already something in our hand. It's the most natural thing in the world. The key is to do it, though, without even thinking about it. Just real natural. And don't get too caught up in a fake transfer. So let me break this down for you. And it works so beautifully, okay? I'm seated here. I'm actually wearing shorts. It's very different when I'm on stage, and I've got dress pants with slightly looser pockets and that whole bit. It flows a lot better, and you'll see when you practice yourself if you want to do the kicker ending. The kicker ending, so let me do this, and then we'll come back to the options here. So I have the object. I'm going to do basically from one hand to the other, whichever you feel comfortable, a shuttle pass. But shuttle pass is typically done. This is a very casual. It's very casual, right? Okay, I'm not being careful because I go from pocket to pocket so quickly. It's the most casual thing in the world. Don't get too caught up. The meta actions, the larger actions is what sells it. It's not the precision of this. It's this larger go into my pocket kind of action. That's the key here. So all this will inform one of the methods you can do for the kicker ending. All right, so let me the paperclip. Okay, let's say we're going to do it this way. From there. And then there, and then there. Okay, or should I do it this way? We'll do it, doesn't really matter. Okay, the paperclip's in my left pants pocket, okay? In my right pant pocket, I have the folded card. So the genius of the crossover switch is you start with your hands empty. Right? You just got the item here. Now, I don't go to my pockets without telling them. So I'm going to use two things for this trick. One thing I'm going to use is folded card, a queen of spades. I'm also going to use this paperclip, and you don't have it, you don't find it. So you come out, you do the transfer, and you go down here and get the paperclip, okay? I, of course, when I was in my pocket, all I did was grab the duplicate card, okay? So watch. Here, along with this, also going to use a paperclip. I'm grabbing the duplicate card, but clip's not there, false transfer. Must be down here. Leave the folded card, grab the paperclip, come out, and put it on. Okay, so now that I've described to you what's going on behind the scenes, I want you to see how well this flows. Because along with the folded card, I'm also going to be using a paperclip. Where's that? There it was there. Okay, we'll put that here. So it really flows. So you can do the exact same thing with this. If you have your Tokyo postcard or whatever duplicate, you're going to fold it into quarters, okay? And I like to fold in the quarters with the stamp square left out here. But it's it's not super messy, okay? You don't want it super messy. A little unkempt. Let's go with this, okay? So there it is, okay? So that, we'll say, for example, is in, why don't we have this in my right pants pocket, okay? There. Now, I've got my clip, because I'm going to use the same clip here. And all I do is after this is done, maybe I leave it on the table, maybe I do a card trick, mentalism, sponge balls, ring and spoon, something. And then at the very end of my show, as a kicker, what I do is, you guys have been great. They see me openly put the piece in here and fold it up into halves. I fold it up into quarters. You guys have been a great show. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great night. That kind. And as I'm saying that, I say, like to give you a souvenir. But make sure that everything doesn't fall apart. Got a little paperclip here. And I take it and I don't find the paperclip. And then I do my transfer. Okay, it's that simple. It's here, transfer over to this hand, okay? And I've got tiny hands. I promise, my hands. For anybody who thinks, he's got big hands, he can do it. Grab a poker card, and right here on camera, you'll see, okay, that a poker card barely fits inside my hand. I have a small hand, so you can compare. You can see where on the pinky the poker card lies. I have a small hand, all right? So it's just about the bowl gesture. We're here going for that clip here, and you could use a big bulldog clip if you wanted to. Boom, it's not there. Transfer over here where it is. Then I find the clip in my pocket here like this, leave it behind, and come on up and clip this. I hand this to them. I literally often will hand this to them. I'll say, boom, put the clip on there. Say, there you go, a little souvenir for you. Thanks again. Wait a second. Before I let you go, hopefully I've really impressed you with a bunch of these things, but I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, if he was a real magician, and I let that settle. Then I go to my pants pocket, or my jacket pocket, or my case, and again, they're holding on to this. Take out my lighter, nice time lapse here like this, and I wave. Now notice, I'm going to my case for my lighter, which means that if instead what you'd like to do is have this one folded up, okay? This is the one that's totally restored, ready for the miracle and all that kind of thing. In my case with my lighter. I can finish the show by taking the piece, putting it in the torn, folding this up here, putting a clip on like that, and say, that way, there you go, little souvenir for you. Then I pause, I say, I know what you're thinking though. You're thinking, if he was a real magician, he'd be able to do something even more amazing. And you know what? I'm going to try something with a lighter. And as I say lighter, I turn. Okay, this is for my stand-up shows. I turn, I go right inside my case, come out with a lighter, flicking that. And when I go in, I just switch this, okay? I go down. The key is to make sure the lighter comes up first. So this is your active hand. Sometimes say on the left side here, even probably even better. The case is there. I've got the switch, the one to switch in is there, okay? Got the lighter. This is all in the case on the left side. Fold this in. Now, here, attention, then relax, say, know what you're thinking. If he was a real magician, don't say what you're going to do, but say, if it was, I know what you're thinking. If he's a real magician, maybe he'd do one more amazing thing. Well, I'm going to try one more thing with a lighter. So I turn, I go down to the case, okay? This is the active hand. This is passive. It's in the background, essentially. I go down, grab the lighter, come up with the lighter. So I'm going to try something with this. And can somebody else help me? Time lapse, time lapse. Would you hold this just like this? And then I wave this under this. Okay, wave that under that like that. Saying it's warming, talking about fusion, all that kind of stuff. Have them remove this, and you get this absolutely marvelous ending. And believe me, if you go to that case and get that lighter real casual, then plant a time lapse, have them hold on to it, this like this, maybe talking some mock science of the fusion, they will never remember you went anywhere near your case, okay? You don't say, I'm going to go down into my case. You're just going to get that lighter. You come back up like this. In the case switch, I've used it for many, many years. You open this up like this, and you have this. Just the lighter, the clip, a shocking kicker ending on that. One other little addition on that, too, is that sometimes what I'll do is after I fold it up and I've done the switch, if I want to really plant that time lapse and I'm already here like this, I'm so far ahead, I'll say, here, I'll tell you what. Here we go. I'll give you. If you give me your autograph, I'll give you mine. And I put a little initial on one side of this, and they put their little initial on the other. Okay. So now it's initialed. So they saw you tear it. They saw you make the piece vanish. They saw the piece appeared inside. You tore it open. Okay. A wonderful trick. Now as a kicker, they've initialed it. They saw you fold it up with the tear, the whole bit. You could even have them wave it, give it a try like this, like this. Again, time lapse, you open that up and it's completely and impossibly restored and initialed to make sure there were no switches involved because they initialed it long after you made the switch. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this tutorial, out of all the tricks I've created with my pre-torn corner principle, this is my favorite. Card tricks are great, coin tricks are great, mentalism, sponge balls, spoon, borrowed objects, all that stuff's really, really great. What I love about postcards, though, is like I mentioned earlier, is no one thinks of postcards as gimmicked. People even think, well, a magician needs special props. He or she needs their cards, their coins, their silks, whatever they're going to be using. The idea that you can do magic with anything, including just postcards, is a really powerful concept, which as magicians we sometimes fail to appreciate how strong it is doing stuff with something like that. I've done this close-up in bars. I've done this walk around with a few different sets when I want to go into a gig and I'm there for 2 hours and maybe I'm ready to do the trick 3 times, okay? And maybe I'm going to set it up so I'm going to use 3 different postcards just in case someone follows me around at the gig, right? I want something for the organizer of the gig so I get booked again. I want something for the owner of the house at a private gig. These kinds, the extra special. And it's always nice to have something where if someone stops you, there's also, you're in the kitchen or you're in the front foyer and 2 people are watching you, then 6, then all of a sudden there are 15 people. What are you going to do? The coins across may not work for 15, 20 people that well. So this has this bigger feel, even though it's just a couple of postcards you're carrying around. So I hope you really like it. Again, don't feel obliged to do the kicker ending. Okay, I want to make sure you don't feel like you got to do it. You don't have to do it. It's really nice. So my advice is to try it without the kicker ending a few times. You'll love the reactions. And then in a slightly maybe bigger show where you can go switch in your case or you're wearing a suit and so you got those looser pants or jacket pockets for that Tamarez crossover switch, maybe try that then in that situation. Yeah, so I hope you really enjoyed. Have a lot of fun with it. Thank you so much for purchasing this effect. I always appreciate the support from my fans. Thank you. And finally, of course, the PDF. You'll have a link to the PDF so that you'll be able to print these suckers off for pennies. I mean, go to your local printer, whatever, and get 100 of each, whatever, and you'll be good for a long time to come, and it won't cost much. You got to love gimmicks you can actually print off yourself, okay? Take it easy. Thank you so much, and make the magic yours. Because ultimately, even though we love tricks and gimmicks and things, ultimately, you are the magic. If people care about you, if you're comfortable and you're having fun and no big ego, people will love what you do and you'll be successful. But if you've got ego or too much insecurity, you haven't practiced enough, it'll work against you. You are the magic.